If your physique hasn't changed in months, one of these three things is broken: training, diet, and recovery. You don't need more exercises and you don't need a better program. You need to fix the weakest link. I call this the Holy Trinity of Lifting. I've been lifting for years, and I can think of plenty of times where my progress stalled for weeks, maybe even months. And every single time, it was because one of these three things was lacking. One of the things in the Holy Trinity was lacking: training, diet, and recovery. These things multiply with each other. They don't add up. Perfect training paired with poor sleep and poor diet is going to give you a mid physique. Great training paired with good diet and good sleep is going to give you a lot more results and a lot better results than having just one thing perfect and the other two just meh. If your physique is not changing, one of these three things is failing. Training is the demand, diet is the supply, recovery is the adaptation. The first pillar is the demand, and that's the training. There are a lot of people on the internet trying to sell you the idea that training is some sort of super overcomplicated process. But in reality, it isn't. I listen to them. I spent a lot of time watching videos on how to train better and how to train more effectively. And I'm here to tell you that most of that is garbage. Most of that was wasted time. I'm going to tell you what you really need to know. I'm going to boil all of that information down, hours and hours and hours of information I consumed, of knowledge I consumed. I'm going to boil it down really quickly right now. The first thing is the golden rule of bodybuilding. Consistency is key. If you are not consistent with training, you will not make any progress. This also goes for the other two categories of diet and recovery. But with training, it's even more apparent. If you go to the gym 5 times a week this week, and then next week you're only going twice a week, that's not consistent. You need to be going a consistent amount every single week, whether that be 3 days a week every week, or maybe 5 days, 6 days a week every week. Do as much as you can handle. If you can't go 5 days a week every week, don't do it. If you can only go 3 days a week, do that. The second part is progressive overload. If you do not increase the amount of weight, if you do not increase the amount of reps, if you don't increase the difficulty of the exercise in some way, shape, or form, you will not make progress. You will not make any progress. If you have been doing 20-pound dumbbell curls for the last 8 months and you have not been increasing in reps and you have not made the exercise any more difficult, you're not making any progress. Your bicep is not going to get any bigger. You're not going to get this. You're going to get this. And the third step is intention and intensity. I made a video a long time ago, I think it was a few months ago now, about intention and intensity. You can watch that if you want a more in-depth explanation of the two, but I'm going to give you a really quick rundown. Intention is you have to intend to make more muscle. You can't just go to the gym, lift some weights, and then just leave. You have to go, I'm going to the gym to make more muscle. I'm going to the gym to be consistent. I'm going to the gym to progressively overload. I'm going to the gym to push myself. I'm going to the gym to increase my demand. And with intensity, if you are not pushing yourself to the absolute limit on almost every single exercise, you will not make any gains. Intensity is so important. I think I could have been a lot bigger right now if I took intention and intensity more seriously. Some common mistakes I see with training is overthinking. You shouldn't be overthinking about training. Like I said earlier, training has been made to be more complicated than it seems. And it really is basic. The things I just told you, think about that. You don't have to think much farther than that, really. What I told you earlier is going to get you 95% of the gains. Also, like changing programs and exercises too often. You need to stick with something so you can get better at that exercise or at that whole program. If you change it too much, you're not gonna really see much progress in all those exercises. If the demand is weak, the body ignores it. No amount of protein is going to build the muscle you didn't demand. The second pillar of the Holy Trinity of lifting, the supply, aka the demand. You can't build without any supplies. You're not gonna go to a construction site and see a building forming without any wood, without any nails, without any metal on the floor. You're not going to see that. That doesn't happen. Just like with bodybuilding, you don't see a lot of progress made without having good diet. If you have lots of calories and lots of carbs, that means you have a lot of raw energy. If you don't have any protein, that means you have no building materials. That's like having a lot of manpower on the construction site, a lot of people ready to build, but there's no building materials. The building won't be built. Some common mistakes I see with the supply: eating randomly and calling it a bulk. I've done this before. It lasted almost 4.5 years, my bulk, but it wasn't really much of a bulk because I was eating randomly. I did not have much structure in my bulk. Doing this wasted a lot of time for me. If you have no structure in your bulk, if you have no structure in your diet, that's a big mistake. You won't gain as effectively. You're not getting the right amount of supply in. Another thing is training hard, but not eating right. I also did this. I trained really hard at the gym. I've been mostly training pretty hard at the gym for a while now. But still, much of that time, I wasn't eating right. So I didn't gain much weight. I didn't gain much muscle. If you train hard, but look weak and don't recover, the supply chain is broken. The third pillar of the Holy Trinity of Lifting, the adaptation, aka the recovery. Like I said earlier, training is just the demand. The actual growth you get is not from the demand. It's from adapting to the demand. It's from the recovery. You just need to focus on 2 things for recovery: sleep and fatigue management. In sleep, you just need to sleep enough, man. You need to have enough rest days. You need to have enough recovery time. If you wake up feeling, man, I wish I slept more, you probably didn't sleep enough. Or maybe you're thinking to yourself, but I slept 8 hours. Did you actually sleep 8 hours, or were you in bed for 8 hours? If you don't sleep enough, you will not recover. Back when I was a beginner, I used to think that having less rest days was better because I was getting more training opportunities, more days to train. This is counterintuitive. Yes, on paper it sounds good. You're training more days in the week after all. You're giving more chances for muscle stimulus, but you're not recovering. And if you're not recovering enough, you're not gonna gain. The second part of recovery is fatigue management. Exercise selection and systemic fatigue matters a lot. If your whole program, if all of your lifting days consist of huge exercises, like huge and heavy exercises, like a lot of compound lifts, you will accumulate a lot of systemic fatigue. Systemic fatigue is essentially the fatigue your whole body gets when completing an exercise. So, for example, deadlifts has a lot of systemic fatigue. That's why you feel very tired after deadlifts and squats and maybe even bench. But something like bicep curls, you're not gonna feel that tired. If your program has just a lot of these exercises, you're gonna feel really tired. You're gonna need more rest whenever you have a lot of systemic fatigue built up. This is when that rest day is going to really matter. This is when that rest day is going to really help you. And if you're on a cut, recovery is even more important. When you're on a cut, you're in a caloric deficit. That means you're getting less nutrients than your body needs to sustain weight. That means you're not gonna be recovering as good as you would be if you were on a bulk or even if you were maintaining. Some common mistakes I see with recovery is just simply not sleeping enough and having a lot of exercises with a lot of systemic fatigue. Fix both of these things and you have recovery down. No adaptation means no growth, no matter how good your training was. If you're always sore, tired, and regressing, adaptation is failing. You don't need perfection in all 3 categories, but if one is off for long enough, progress will stop. An actionable step for you is anytime whenever your progress stalls, ask yourself, is demand high enough? Is the supply sufficient? Is adaptation happening? You are only strong as your weakest link. Focus on that weakest link and fix that one first. It's not your genetics, it's not the exercise selection, and it's not your program. It's one of the 3. It's always one of the 3. You don't need more information. You need alignment. Demand, supply, and adaptation. Fix those and your physique has no choice but to change. You know what to do. Get up and get after it.